When you think of traveling across Asia, certain images immediately come to mind. In Japan, it's the neon streets of Tokyo and the quiet elegance of ancient temples. In South Korea, the blend of K-pop energy and cutting-edge technology. In Thailand, bustling night markets and golden Buddhist shrines. And in Singapore, towering skyscrapers rising above a spotless, hypermodern city. Each country has its highlight, its postcard-perfect identity that most travelers expect. So, when I set out to explore Asia, I thought I knew what was coming. I expected precision, efficiency, and cultural richness, packaged neatly in ways that every travel guidebook loves to describe. And in many cases, I got exactly that. But then I landed in the Philippines, and nothing could have prepared me for what I experienced there. Because unlike the polished order of Japan, or the high-tech rush of Korea, the Philippines shocked me in ways that went far deeper than sightseeing. It wasn't about perfect trains or futuristic skylines. It was about something more powerful: people, connection, and a kind of warmth that you don't often find in today's fast-paced world. In this video, we're going to dive into why the Philippines stands out in Asia, not just for its stunning beaches or colorful festivals, but for its culture, its language, its resilience, and its people. From unexpected hospitality to music echoing on every street corner. From effortless English conversations to the feeling of instantly belonging. This is the side of the Philippines that no brochure or Instagram post can fully capture. So, let me take you through the journey of how one country in Asia didn't just surprise me. It truly shocked me. Arrival and first impressions. Landing in Manila feels like stepping into organized chaos. The first thing that hits you is the traffic. Jeepneys weaving between cars, motorbikes darting in every direction, and a kind of noise that never seems to stop. At first glance, it can feel overwhelming. Overwhelming compared to the pristine, hyper-regulated systems of Singapore or Tokyo. But almost instantly, something else strikes you. Despite the chaos, the people are calm, smiling, and eager to help. At the airport, strangers greet you with, "Welcome to the Philippines," even if they've never seen you before. A taxi driver will ask where you're from, not just as small talk, but out of genuine curiosity. Street vendors wave at you. Children smile and say hello in English. Even when people are busy, they make time to acknowledge you. This is where the Philippines shocks you. It may not have the polished efficiency of Seoul or the glittering skyline of Hong Kong, but what it has is something many of those cities lack: human connection. You don't feel like just another tourist spending money. You feel noticed, included, and in a small way, even welcomed into the community. The shock factor is not about the infrastructure. It's about the people. Other Asian capitals impress you with order and spectacle. Manila, and the Philippines in general, impress you with warmth. It's messy, it's noisy, but it's alive in a way that feels deeply personal. Language shock, English everywhere. The next surprise hits when you start talking to locals. Unlike in Japan, Korea, or China, where English often feels like a barrier. In the Philippines, it's the complete opposite. Taxi drivers, store clerks, hotel staff, even kids in the street. They all speak English with ease. And not just formal textbook English, but relaxed, conversational English that makes it easy to connect. Connect on a personal level. Asking for directions doesn't turn into a game of charades. Ordering food doesn't come with miscommunication. And if you want to talk about something deeper, like politics, family, or even music, most Filipinos can jump right into the conversation. This changes everything. Instead of being stuck on the outside, looking at the culture through a glass wall, you suddenly feel like you're part of it. Language stops being a hurdle. It starts becoming a bridge. You're no longer a tourist trying to survive. You're a guest being welcomed. And this is a huge shock when compared to East Asia. In China, you might need a translation app just to order lunch. In Japan, people are polite, but communication often stays on the surface. In the Philippines, however, conversations flow naturally. It feels like you've skipped the barrier that usually keeps travelers at arm's length. And that makes the country instantly more open, more accessible, and more unforgettable. Filipino hospitality and warmth. If there's one thing every traveler remembers, it's what's often called the Filipino smile. It's not the polite, professional smile you might get in a hotel in Bangkok or a department store in Seoul. It's genuine, heartfelt, and disarming. It's a smile that says, "You're welcome here." I remember riding a jeepney for the first time, nervous about paying the right fare. A stranger noticed, smiled, and without hesitation passed my money forward. Made sure it reached the driver. No one laughed at my confusion. No one seemed annoyed. Helping was automatic. In a small town, I was invited to a family gathering by someone I had just met. Within minutes, I was sharing food, laughter, and stories with people who treated me less like a foreigner and more like an old friend. This kind of hospitality is woven into Filipino culture. It's tied to values of family, community, and bayanihan, the spirit of helping one another. Yes, many Asian countries are known for being polite, but in the Philippines, it goes beyond politeness. It feels personal. It feels like people are opening a part of their home and heart to you, even if you're a complete stranger. And that is something no travel guide can prepare you for. Hospitality in the Philippines isn't a performance. It's an instinct, born out of a culture where people may not always have much, but they'll happily share whatever they do have. That's why visitors often leave the country with friendships that last a lifetime, not just memories of places they've seen. Food surprises. Before visiting, I thought Filipino food was going to be all about exotic dishes, like balut. That's the stereotype many outsiders hear. But what I discovered was a culinary world far richer and more diverse. Far more diverse than I imagined. Take adobo, for example, the national dish. Simple, yet deeply flavorful. It's comfort food at its best. Then there's sinigang, a sour tamarind soup. It feels both refreshing and hearty at the same time. Lechon, whole roasted pig, isn't just food. It's the centerpiece of celebrations, a symbol of joy and togetherness. And then, of course, halo-halo, a colorful, playful dessert that feels like a party in a glass. What surprised me most is how Filipino food reflects the country's history and culture. Spanish influences meet Chinese flavors, all blended with indigenous traditions. It's fusion before fusion cuisine even became trendy. And unlike in Thailand or Vietnam, where street food is often about quick, solo snacks, Filipino food feels communal. Meals are meant to be shared, on long tables during fiestas, in family gatherings, or even at a small roadside eatery, where strangers strike up conversations over bowls of pancit. Food in the Philippines isn't just about taste, it's about connection. And that makes every meal feel like part of the bigger Filipino story, one of resilience, joy, and togetherness. Music, dance, and talent. One of the biggest shocks in the Philippines is how much music and dance are woven into everyday life. Karaoke isn't just a pastime here. It's a national obsession. Walk down almost any street, and you'll hear someone singing. Whether it's in a small sari-sari store, a family gathering, or even a neighborhood block party. And what's truly surprising is how good they are. It's not just casual singing. So many Filipinos have voices that sound like they belong on a professional stage. This natural talent extends beyond karaoke. Dancing is another passion, especially among the youth. Street festivals explode with energy. Troupes perform synchronized, colorful routines that rival professional productions. Schools and communities organize competitions. Entertainment isn't something reserved for the elite. It's for everyone. Globally, this talent has gained recognition. Filipinos have dominated international singing competitions, from The Voice to Broadway. Lea Salonga, one of the Philippines' most iconic performers, became a Disney legend and a Tony Award winner. Dance groups like the Philippine All-Stars have impressed on global stages. In Asia, no country embraces performance culture the way the Philippines does. Music and dance aren't just entertainment here. They're a way of life. They're how people express joy, resilience, and togetherness. And as a traveler, witnessing that spirit up close is both shocking and inspiring. Religion and festivals. The Philippines is often called the only Christian nation in Asia, and this is another culture shock for many visitors. With over 80% of the population identifying as Catholic, religion is not just a private matter. It's a public celebration. The Spanish colonial legacy brought Catholicism, but the way Filipinos practice it blends faith with festivity. Every town has its fiesta, honoring a patron saint with processions, parades, and endless food. Streets transform into colorful rivers of music, dance, and devotion. Unlike in other countries, these festivals are not just staged for tourists. They're deeply rooted in community life. Whether it's the Sinulog in Cebu, the Adi Adahan in Aklan, or the Pahiyas in Quezon, each celebration reflects not just faith, but the Filipino love of togetherness. compared to festivals in Thailand or Singapore, which often feel tailored for international visitors. Filipino fiestas feel raw, local, and people-centered. It's neighbors cooking together, families opening their homes to strangers, communities pouring their hearts into days of joy. This blend of faith, fun, and resilience makes the Philippines festivals stand out. They're not just events. They're living traditions that shock outsiders with their sheer energy and warmth. Nature and paradise destinations. When people think of Asian beach paradises, Thailand and Bali usually come to mind first. But the Philippines? That's the hidden gem that shocks every traveler. Imagine stepping onto the powdery white sands of Boracay, swimming in the crystal-clear lagoons of Palawan, or surfing the rolling waves of Siargao. These aren't just beautiful, they're world-class. The natural beauty doesn't stop at beaches. The Bano rice terraces, often called the eighth wonder of the world, showcase a landscape carved by human hands centuries ago. Waterfalls tumble through lush jungles. Mountains invite adventurous treks. Coral reefs offer some of the best diving in the world. What shocks many visitors is how unspoiled much of this beauty still is. While Bali or Phuket can feel commercialized, many Philippine destinations remain authentic. In some islands, there are no mega resorts or crowded tourist zones. Just locals, simple accommodations, and nature at its purest. And yet, the Philippines remains underrated internationally. It doesn't always dominate travel bucket lists the way Thailand or Indonesia does. But for those who make the journey, it feels like discovering a secret. The shock isn't just how beautiful it is. It's wondering why more people don't already know. Resilience and positivity. Another culture shock comes not from what you see, but from how people live. The Philippines faces real challenges. Poverty, natural disasters like typhoons, traffic congestion, and infrastructure struggles. Yet, despite all of this, the people remain incredibly positive. You'll see kids playing basketball on makeshift courts and alleys, laughing and enjoying themselves even in the simplest conditions. Families gather for meals, often with little, yet sharing stories and laughter that make it feel like a feast. After a storm, communities come together to rebuild, not with despair, but with hope and determination. This resilience shocks outsiders because it redefines wealth. In countries where people often measure success by material possessions, Filipinos show that true wealth is measured in spirit. Their optimism and ability to find joy in even the hardest times leave a lasting impression. Compared to other nations, where challenges often bring frustration or division, Filipinos face adversity with unity and smiles. It's not about denying problems. It's about refusing to let problems define them. And that attitude is both humbling and inspiring to witness. Filipino global presence. One final shock hits when you realize just how global the Filipino presence really is. Everywhere you go in the world, you'll meet Filipinos. Working as nurses in New York, seafarers on international ships, caregivers in Europe, engineers in the Middle East, or entertainers in cruise lines. The overseas Filipino worker, OFW, community is massive. It silently keeps industries around the world running. What's more striking is that despite being scattered globally, their pride in the Philippines never fades. Ask any OFW where they're from, and they'll proudly say, "I'm Filipino." Many send money back home, invest in their families, and return for vacations, keeping ties to their roots strong. This global presence makes you realize how much the Philippines contributes to the world, not just in labor, but in culture, care, and heart. It's a shock because often, the world takes Filipino contributions for granted. But once you see it, you understand just how powerful and far-reaching their influence really is. Filipino global presence. One of the most surprising realizations about the Philippines comes not while you're in the country, but when you look around the world. Everywhere you travel, whether it's New York, London, Dubai, or Rome, you will encounter Filipinos. This isn't a coincidence. Millions of overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, have become the backbone of industries worldwide. In hospitals, it's Filipino nurses who provide compassionate care. On international ships, it's Filipino seafarers navigating oceans, ensuring goods move from continent to continent. In Europe and the Middle East, Filipino caregivers are trusted with families, often becoming like family themselves. In the United States, Canada, and Australia, Engineers, IT professionals, and teachers contribute to innovation and growth. The shock is how silent yet powerful this presence is. Filipinos often work behind the scenes, but their impact is enormous. They don't always seek the spotlight, but their reliability, work ethic, and warmth make them irreplaceable. Irreplaceable in countless industries. And despite living thousands of miles away, their pride in the homeland remains strong. Ask any OFW where home is, and the answer is always the same. The Philippines. They send remittances that fuel the economy. Visit during Christmas or fiestas, and keep traditions alive abroad. It's a reminder that being Filipino is not just about geography. It's an identity carried proudly across the globe. The unexpected connection. For many travelers, Asia can sometimes feel like a place where you admire the beauty but remain an outsider. In Japan, Korea, or China, visitors are treated politely, but there's often a cultural distance that keeps you at arm's length. In the Philippines, the experience is the complete opposite. You're not just a tourist, you're treated like family. The phrase "kain tayo," let's eat, perfectly captures this spirit. Sit next to someone on a bus or meet a new friend in a market, and before long you'll hear an invitation to share a meal. And it's not just about food. It's about sharing life, stories, and belonging. The sense of inclusion hits harder than any sightseeing moment. It's one thing to visit a stunning beach or marvel at a historical site, but it's another to feel like you've been welcomed into someone's home. The hospitality is genuine, not staged for tourism. It makes you realize that connection is what sets the Philippines apart. The real shock isn't that Filipino culture is strange. It's that it feels so familiar, so quickly. You don't feel like an outsider looking in. Instead, you feel like you've always had a place at the table. And that, more than anything, stays with you long after the trip ends. Traveling across Asia is like flipping through the pages of the world's most colorful book. Japan impresses with its precision and innovation. Korea dazzles with its pop culture and modern energy. Thailand enchants with its food and temples. Singapore showcases efficiency and gleaming progress. Each country leaves its mark, but the Philippines leaves something deeper. The shock of the Philippines isn't about skyscrapers or technology, or perfectly organized systems. It's about people. It's about realizing that wealth isn't always measured in GDP, or high-speed trains or megacities. It's measured in human warmth, resilience, and creativity. What makes the Philippines stand out is its mastery of connection. Language is a huge part of this. With English spoken widely and fluently, visitors can easily move from surface-level conversations to real, meaningful exchanges. But communication alone doesn't explain it. Filipinos pair language with emotional intelligence, adaptability, and creativity. They make every encounter feel authentic. Then there's resilience. This is a nation that has faced natural disasters, economic challenges, and social struggles, yet manages to smile, laugh, and find joy in everyday life. For travelers used to societies where stress dominates, this attitude is a revelation. You start to realize that true strength lies not in avoiding hardship, but in facing it with positivity. Creativity also flows naturally in the Philippines. Whether it's through music, dance, food, or festivals, self-expression is everywhere. This creativity isn't just about entertainment. It's about survival, innovation, and turning challenges into opportunities. In the end, the Philippines teaches a lesson that resonates far beyond travel. The strongest asset of a nation isn't infrastructure, money, or power. It's its people. And once you've experienced that, you understand why the Philippines shocks you in the best way possible. After traveling across Asia, I thought I had seen it all. Ancient temples, futuristic skylines, breathtaking beaches, and incredible food. But the Philippines managed to surprise me in ways I didn't expect. It wasn't shocking because it was strange. It was shocking because it was so familiar, so welcoming, and so vibrant. The warmth of the people, the mastery of English, the music and celebrations, the resilience in tough times, and the global presence of Filipinos all combined to leave an impression far deeper than anything I could have imagined. Unlike anywhere else in Asia, the Philippines blends Western familiarity with Asian warmth, creating a unique culture that makes visitors feel instantly at home. The shock wasn't just in what I saw, but in how I felt, connected, included, and inspired. And so, after traveling across Asia, I can honestly say, The Philippines left the biggest mark on me, not for the sights alone, but for the way it made me feel. I traveled across Asia, but the Philippines shocked me the most, not for what I saw, but for how it made me feel.